Hello, welcome to the Self Learning Platform by Dr. Sushma Singh. Today we start Unit 23 Nationalism. Let us start introduction of the unit. Nationalism is an important social and political phenomena that involves the making of nation and nation states into a definable identity. It is a normative doctrine that embodies a particular set of assumptions and beliefs about politics. The essence of nationalism is a belief about the social basis of political theory. As a way of thinking about the world, it emphasizes the importance of nations in explaining historical developments and analyzing contemporary politics, and also claims that national character is a pervasive factor differentiating human beings. It assures that all human beings should have one and only one nationality, which should be their prime factor of identity and loyalty. Nationalism claims to be represented the will of the people to be able to decide their own destiny, their will to be respected as people, to develop their culture and personality. During the last 200 years, nationalism has combined with the ideologies of liberalism, socialism, and communalism and emerged a winner. The national movements in the colonial countries in the first half of the 20th century and the disintegration of the Soviet Union at its fag end revealed the powerful forces of nationalism. Today, we live in a world where instead of peaceful multiculturalism, nations feel a constant threat of being annihilated. This is all the more important when, in context of globalization, there is an attempt to homogenize all communities. In this country, in this unit, we shall raise and answer these issues. There are four main debates which have dominated the study of nationalism. They are: how to define nationalism, when did the nation appear? The different theories of nationalism try to answer this question, though we do not find any final answers. How did the nations and nation states historically evolve and develop, and whether there is any marked difference between the development of nationalism in the Western and the non Western world? Recent challenges to nationalism in the form of ethnic resurgence and globalization. Now, let us discuss what is nationalism. Nationalism is a compound of many factors, some of which have their roots in human nature and many of which have a long history. Yet, it is a modern phenomenon. To discover it is a difficult undertaking, and to define it in succinct phrase is even more difficult. In one sense, it is the extension of a group to which one belongs. In this sense, it is a form of collective egoism. In a negative sense, it is a manifestation of their fear of stranger with its roots deep in human nature. In modern sense, it is born of that love of the familiars, land, and people, which is often regarded as the core of patriotism. According to Hayat, nationalism has been used in many different ways, and it is commonly used to denote a condition of mind among members of a nationality, perhaps already possessed of a national state, a condition of mind in which loyalty to the ideal or to the fact of a national state is superior to all other loyalties, and of which pride is one. A nationality and belief in its intrinsic excellence and its mission are integral parts. Similarly, Hans Kohan defines nationalism as a state of mind striving to correspond to the political fact. In the other hand, Jalinier writes nationalism is primarily a political principle which holds that the political unit and the national unit should be congruent. Nationalist sentiment is a feeling of anger aroused by the violation of the principle, or the feel of satisfaction aroused by its fulfillment. Giddens points to the psychological character of nationalism, the affiliation of the individual to a set of symbols and beliefs, emphasizing commonality among the members of a particular community. In short, nationalism has two aspects. First, the political character of nationalism as an ideology defending the notion that the state and the nation should be congruent. And second, its capacity to be a provider of identity for individuals conscious of forming a group based upon a common past and culture and attachment to a concrete territory. The power of nationalism emanates from its ability to endanger sentiments of belonging to a particular community. Symbols and rituals play a major role in the cultivation of a sense of solidarity among the people. This, in order to understand the concept of nationalism, we must keep in mind that nationalism is a sentiment that has to do with attachment to a common homeland, a common language, ideals, values, and traditions, identifying a particular group with symbols such as a flag, songs, which define it as different from others. How a sentiment of attachment to a homeland and a common culture can be transformed into the political demand for the creation of a state. How is it possible to make this transition? A theory of nationalism has to deal with questions such as: how does nationalism use and legitimize the use of violence in its quest for the creation of a state? What is the role of national ideology? What is the role of the leaders in the national movement, and how far can they contribute to the propagation of symbols and ideas? An important feature of nationalism is its capacity to bring together people from different social and cultural levels. Nationalism is not merely an invention of the ruling classes to maintain the unconditional loyalty of the masses, but also a tool to make them believe that they have much in common. This is one of the basic factors for understanding the persistence of nationalism. Next topic is national identity. Apart from the definitions, another important aspect in the study of nationalism is what constitutes national identity. That is, how an individual is able to attach himself with a particular community and thinks himself different from others. Hayes attributes seven factors for the rise of this national consciousness and identity: linguistics and literary, political, commercial, economic, acceleration, religious, and cultural. Historically, kinship represented the first sign of identification and loyalty. The Middle Ages allowed the formation of a large group attached to the concrete territory. Through the creation of markets, the intensification of trade, the waging of war, and the slow but progressive amplification of the state's scope, there emerged the formation of a community conscious of itself as different from others. It is at this stage that one can start talking of the emergence of nations and different national identities. According to Gilbert, broadly speaking, there are three factors which helped in creation of a national identity. First, development of printing and creation of vernacular languages. Second, relationship between nation and culture. And the third, common symbols and rituals. The development of vernacular languages after the invention of the printing press in Europe played a decisive role in creating a sense of belonging to a community. National consciousness is derived from the shared values, traditions, and memories within a particular culture, and which are thought of and spoken in a particular language. Though the vernacular is not an indispensable basis for the creation of national consciousness, yet it does facilitate that creation. Where nation and state were coextensive, Education and the generalization of literacy not only reinforced the possibility of communication among the people, but also helped in the development of a strong sense of community. The development of English, French, and German languages and education based upon the school system led to the creation of a strong national consciousness. When the state manages to impose a culture and language, it is a nationalism which engendered nations. If the state is successful, it manages to develop, apart from the political, a combination of several relationships such as economic, territorial, religious, linguistic, and cultural. It is this state which creates a nation. Secondly, the key question with regard to national identity is, who am I? Identity is an interpretation of the self that establishes what and where a person is, both socially and psychologically. Identity exists in societies which define and organize them. In the current era, the nation represents one of these communities. National identity is its product. The defining criteria of identity are continuity over time and differentiation. While continuity lies in historical roots, differentiation stems from the consciousness of forming a community with a shared culture attached to a concrete territory, which distinguishes between members and strangers. This identity fulfills three functions. First, it helps in making choices such as the right to decide about their common political identity. Second, it makes the relationship possible with others because nation is a common pool in which individuals with a common culture live and work together. And third, national identity gives strength and resilience to individuals to identify with an entity which transcends them. Now, this identity is created through the development of a common culture, that is, values, beliefs, customs, conventions, habits, and practices that are transmitted to the new members who receive the culture of a particular community. The process of identification with the elements of a specific culture implies a strong emotional investment. From the point of view of nationalism, a common culture favors the creation of a bond of solidarity among the members of a given community and allows them to image the community they belong to as separate and distinct from others. Thirdly, in the creation of national identity, a powerful role is also played by symbols and rituals. The consciousness of forming a community is created through the use of symbols and repetition of rituals that give strength to the individual members of the community. By favoring occasions in which they feel united and by displaying symbols that represent this unity, a nation establishes its distinction from others. For example, a soldier does so for his flag because he identifies the flag with his country. Also, symbols like flag have the power to evoke particular memories or feelings. This helps in the ability of nationalism to bind together people from different cultural levels and social background. Symbols mask differences and highlight commonality, creating a sense of group. And last but not the least, individuals who share the same culture feel attached to a concrete land, have the experience of a common past and a prospect for the future, need to create occasions in which all that unites them is emphasized. In these moments, the individual forgets about himself and the sentiment of belonging to a group occupies the prime position. Through rituals, individuals are able to feel an emotion of unusual intensity that springs from their identification with the entity, the nation which is above them and of which they are a part. Thus, the force of nationalism springs not only from rational thought alone, but also from irrational power of emotions that stems from the feelings of belonging to a particular group. This double face of nationalism results from the way in which these emotions are either transformed into a peaceful and democratic movement seeking the recognition and development of one's nation, or turned into axophobia, that is, the will to put one's nation above others and eradicate the differences. Here we want to wind up this lecture. Thank you so much for your attention.